Greetings, everyone. This is the daily Nasdaq recap, stock holiday here. And if you've seen these videos before, what I really like to do is to wait for those first 30 minutes to come through before we make any decisions on a given day. And so you can see I'm on Central Standard Time. And so we are right there at 8:55, and now we're at 9 o'clock. And at this point in time, it does not look like there's a clear move to make on the day. However, here's a couple of things that I've noticed. Right here, this is a shooting star candle. Shooting star can be seen as a possible reversal, but we want to definitely make sure that we can see if there is any confirmation after that. Okay, so I have resistance where this next wick came up, and we'll see how the follow through comes on all of these. See if we can even zoom in just a bit here. And on TradingView, this happens a little bit faster than a given day. So now we're at 9:20. This is the first time that we're seeing that it drops below the 20 EMA. So the things we are looking for are the straight lines for trend lines or possible support resistance lines. And here the yellow is VWAP. I'll put a video in here that explains why I use all of these indicators. But the 8 EMA is the green and the red is the 20 EMA. And if we can see that candle would confirm below the 20 EMA, then that's a time when we would actually enter into a put position. Okay, so the resistance has been in today at 304.78. And if we come and we look at the contracts, you can see kind of a sneak peek here of what's about to happen. This contract, if you would have gotten in at this point, you probably would have gotten in around $2.40. And if we come back here, and I will just hover my cursor over the spot where my stop buy would be. I would have a stop buy right there, and we would be in on this position at this point. And so as we're watching this, it's just really important to see some things along the way. One is that we do actually have an 820 cross right there where the green line has crossed over the red line. We're actually below the yellow line, which is VWAP. And then I'll actually turn on PSAR here because that can give us just a possible other bit of information or confirmation. Are we on the right track? And so you can see PSAR lagged a little bit. The 20 EMA and the resistance that we saw on the day, that gave a pretty good indication that we could enter puts. The other thing we want to watch for is, but for right now, we'll just draw a trend line where we can see a very clear trend line as we go. Now, one part as well is a question of when do I get out? I think it's a good rule to always start scaling at 20%. That would have occurred right here, at least by this point in time. But also 50%, and then we're aiming for 100%. But how would you know that in a given day? Well, so this is the daily Nasdaq chart, and this down here was yesterday. What I do is I put a line of resistance at the top of the day, the high of the day, and then the low of the day. However, you'll see I dragged this line up right here to where it ended on the day. And this ended yesterday at 297, actually 297.09. But that's what's happening here is as I'm watching this and I'm seeing that right now we're at 300, I am saying that I'm definitely going to sell at 297 because that would be matching the end of the day yesterday. And a lot of times these charts will fill the gap. So it's always a good idea, if you have 4 positions, sell half of them at 20%, sell another one at 50%, try to keep one for that 100% to possible 200% move. And so, as I discussed earlier, we're looking for the 297. So I'm going to put that all the way down here at 297, right? There's 297.1. That's actually our target on what we're thinking that this might have the biggest move all the way down to 297. And so at this point, we've scaled out 50%. You can see also that it's honoring that trend line. It's coming back up and it's testing a little bit. But along the way, you've got time in a day to draw some lines, and you can see just some patterns along the way. First of all, right here, that was definitely a line of support at one point in time. But I'm also noticing that right here, this was also a line of resistance at this point. So we're going to keep those lines on there because those can sometimes show up as support or resistance lines later on in the day. And so there you can see it did hit 297. It went under that a little bit, but I would rather sell just a little bit too soon and make sure that I can avoid candles like this of possible reversals. So you can see right here that fought back a little bit, and I'll try to raise this up. You can see just even with the green candles that there are some buyers coming in at this point. You can also see with that yellow dot that the PSAR is creeping in. Okay, so you can see it fought back, and now what was resistance earlier is now resistance again at this 300 level. And so it's breaking down right here, and this is really where patience can really pay off, because you're going to see it's going to be trading within a range here for quite a bit of time. And you can also see the low wicks and the high wicks. There isn't really a good trade to be made at this point in time. As I'm waiting, I like to draw what could possibly be trend lines, and I try to see that maybe this is the trend that's being respected. But you can see no big moves are really occurring at this point. We're getting close to the noon hour on Central Time. If I'm favoring anything at this point, it is puts, because we are under that yellow VWAP right there. And so you can see it's honoring the trend. It's honoring that purple line there. It's testing it. It's breaking up, breaking down. But you can just see if we diagnose these candles, there's high wicks and low wicks. And right there, you can see that broke down and it retested the low of the day. That you could be pretty quick on these moves where you could actually say, okay, I'm going to put a stop buy under here, but I want to also honor the low of the day and make sure I sell. The risk reward right here is not very good. If you're going to be buying puts near the bottom of the day, the risk reward just isn't good. And I will admit I got wrapped up in some of this today, just because the last few days have looked so bad that I was believing that it could actually go down further. But risk reward says wait for that good play, wait for a strong candle, and you can see all of these wicks are pretty weak plays on the day. So now you can see these green candles throughout here, that when would we actually get into some puts? Well, we would buy puts if it got above this resistance line right here. You can see right here at that 300 level, you could actually put a buy right here. Maybe what I'll do is I'll make this line a brighter color so we can see that's really our target. Let's make that a little bit darker here as well. That's our target area right there. That's our trigger. If it gets above this level right here, then we'll be entering into a call position. Incidentally, this move right here from 240 all the way down. Let's see if we can find this on the daily. If you got into that 240 right at 925 when we called that out here, this went from $2.40 to a max of, actually made it to $5.11. And so you think about that, that's more than 100% move in about an hour. Okay, so now right above this pink line, this would be where someone would look at this and say, okay, if it's going to get above this line, I'll be entering into a call position. Risk reward down here at the bottom just says that puts might be pretty risky because the low of the day is already in. So let's just stretch this out a little bit so we can see these candles a little bit better here. I'm going to put my cursor right above where a stop buy would occur, because that would be confirmation of a potential breakout. I'm a little hesitant on moves like this because it is below VWAP at this point in time. But you can see what a mess this is. High wicks, low wicks, all of that. Okay, so our stop buy would have been hit at that point right there. And if you were watching today, there was a big push right over the noon hour there where you'll just see green candles, green candles, green candles. Now, if you were in on this, you would be wondering, okay, at what point do I sell? And now you can notice, right, there's this line up here. And where did this line come from? Well, earlier in the day, this 304.77 was pretty solid resistance. And you can see right now, it's not really liking that either. And so that's a good targeted area to keep your lines on there in a day and just say, I'm going to sell into strength. I'm not going to hold on too long. And you can see it's struggling at this point. So this would have been our second good trade of the day. And that would have been, if we come back to calls, if we would have entered into calls right here at 12:25, and we would have exited right at 12:55. So in 25 minutes, from 12:25, or that would have been right here. Let's say we'd have gotten in middle of that candle, you'd have gotten in at $1.64, and you would have sold at 12:55 because you knew what the resistance was on the day. So you'd have sold it at 324. That's a 100% move in 25 minutes. So you'll notice in a day, there's usually 2 moves, possibly 3 moves in a day. And I have a little alarm on my phone for that last hour of the day because those can be exponential moves as well. So you can see the high of the day is in at this point, and now we're just trying to figure out, will there be another play to be made at this point? PSAR, you can see right there that dot changed, and so it's actually recommending puts. However, you'll notice it's really struggling with the 20 EMA, the red line that we have right here. It's not wanting to drop below that. And so while I wait to make my plays, I try to figure out, where are these lines coming from, these resistance and support lines? And I'm actually going to come all the way down here. Probably be better just to look even earlier, just a few hours before, and just to draw some lines on the bottom of these wicks just to see if some of those lines exist throughout the day as current resistance and support lines as well. That 20 EMA is a good sign. And you can tell it once it got below that 20, it popped above. So right now, this is not a great play at all. None of these plays would have been a very smart maneuver. Just to say, okay, I see you. I can see where your resistance and your support are. And so once this breaks, it's almost like a dam breaking and the water just rushing forth. If it breaks to the upside, if it breaks to the downside, I'm ready for it. Right now, I'm favoring puts because a high of the day has come in. And right there, underneath that wedge, this would have been a spot right here to enter into puts. And so this happens faster on TradingView, but you would have had an entire 5 minutes right here to get in. And so let's just see at 2:20, what were those puts at that time? And I'm going to come right back here. So that would have been right here. Let's say we'd have gotten in about halfway through this candle, $2.12. And you can see the max part of that move went from $2.12 to $3.05. So about a 50% move here. But if you're going to enter here, I recommend that you always put your sell, at least sell part of your position right at VWAP. So watch this electric fence right here. Once it comes down and hits VWAP, you can see it's going to struggle with this. It hits that and it bounces. It struggles for a bit in this area. After that move, it hit another area of support on the day. And then this line that we drew from earlier this morning, when it busted through this line, we were buying calls, and that turned into 100%. But really, from 9:50 in the morning, we could see that this 300.07 was actually an area of support and resistance. And so that is where I had my sell. I sold at VWAP, and then I scaled out the rest just above this line because I wasn't sure if it was going to make it that far. And I believe we're going to see that that was about as low as this made it into the end of the day. It fought back a little bit at that point. So that's two 100% moves and one 50% move on your day.